Hey everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another video. This is going to be quite a different one. I'm at Spirit Halloween, one of these temporary Halloween stores nearby, and I bought myself a little phony baloney Tombstone, and I'm going to do what I want to call the realistic Tombstone transformation challenge. Boy, I'm going to have to shorten the title. Definitely. Anyway, I bought this thing for, what is it, $4.95. Not very much. I want to turn it into a much more realistic looking tombstone, and to do that I need reference. And to get reference, well, I better pay a visit to the local cemetery. Now this is the kind of tombstone that I have in mind, one that has been here for just decades and decades, and you can see it has a very specific surface to it. You know, mostly white with a lot of gray accumulation of, I don't know if that's moss or soil or whatever it is, but you can see that it's really quite different from our cheap $5 imitation. My goal is to try to transform this, make it look more like the real thing. So I'm going to take some photos of this as reference. Wish me luck, folks. I'm going to run over to the hardware store and get some white spray paint. Alright, so I just came out of the hardware store, got myself some flat white primer. I think it's important for it not to have any shine to it. Don't want to get any glossy paint. This is supposed to look like old stone, so hopefully this will give me that matte finish that I need. But enough goofing around. Let's go ahead and get home and spray paint this sucker white. Alright, well, I'm here in my garage and I've put down a cardboard box to try to protect the floor of my garage. But here we go. Let's see if we can cover this up. Make it completely white, so as to begin the fun part of adding the texture inside in my studio, you know, where I usually shoot these videos. I think it needs another spray from another direction. Hang on, folks. Alright, well, it may need a few more touch-ups, but you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and finish off this job, and then we will continue back in the studio, transforming this into a realistic-looking tombstone. Alright, well, let's go ahead and get started with this. I've mixed up a little bit of dark gray paint, and I figure certainly, at least, we're going to have this interior part be quite dark. So I'm going to go in with what I've got is sort of white and black acrylic, so that I can mix up variations of dark to light gray, maybe occasionally going full black. We'll see how it goes. But I figure the interior parts of the eyes will definitely be quite dark. And then I think the real tricky part is going to be applying the sort of texture and trying to make it look organic. You know, it's sort of an interesting thing that when you try to create a truly random looking pattern, it rarely ends up looking completely random. There's something about the human applied specs that tend to not form the same way that they would if it was in real life. But let's go ahead and say that we're going to start applying little patches of gray mold, I guess it's mold, that has begun to grow across this tombstone over time. And definitely this is going to be another one of these videos where I use a lot of time-lapse. You don't want to watch me doing this very gradually over a period of 3 hours or whatever it ends up taking me to do this. But I got a plan to do a two-part application process. There's going to be the paint part, and I think this is another thing. It seems to me up here in the gap that's probably going to all eventually get darkened in. I can build out from there. But I'm going to do a two-step process where I begin with paint, and then I'm going to go on top of it with black pastel, which I think is going to add to the effect. So let me go ahead and kick it into time-lapse as I do a first layer of paint all across the top of this tombstone. Then I'm going to come back and begin applying a bit of pastel to hopefully add to the effect. Alright, well, we're starting to get the effect that I was hoping for, but now I'm going to switch to some gray pastel and sort of start adding and smearing around with my fingers to create just a little extra texture throughout the piece. Now, one of the challenges is this is, of course, made of styrofoam, and at certain points there are, you know, very obvious styrofoamy looking textures, which I certainly want to avoid if I can. So I think it's by combining these two, I'm hoping to get just a little more complexity to this weathered look. I think if I did it 100% by way of paint, see how you get these sort of smaller, craggy looking bits of texture. That becomes possible, I think, more with the pastel than with the paint. But I think combining the two, because if I did it only with pastel, then I wouldn't have those really deep, dark areas that I'm hoping for. So I'm going to continue with the pastel. I'm going to wrap this up, and then I'll see if there's any last things that I want to do before we do the big unveiling. Alright, well, we're really getting close to the end of it now. What I decided to do was to come back with the paint one last time, this time using a smaller brush to do some fine-tuning. And that's basically it in terms of the technique. You can see what I did. Spray painted it white, then brought out some dark gray, black paint. I would advise being able to sort of mix the two together and constantly produce slightly different shades rather than just one. Like, for example, I'm going into some of these in-depth areas and going to like almost black. And I think it's the sort of contrast there between those areas that helps kind of sell the stone-like quality that I'm going for. And yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to go ahead and carry on with this technique throughout the whole rest of the Tombstone. Then we're going to take it outside and put it to the test, see what it looks like when it's out there stuck into the ground. Alright, well, I'm getting very near the end of the process here. I did want to point out, though, that I decided to bring in a little white gouache, my beloved white gouache, here at the end. I just wasn't quite getting the texture that I wanted, and I found that bringing in little dabs here and there of white going back into it was helping to give that varied, craggy surface that I was really going for. So hopefully this will do it, and I'm going to go and take this downstairs, put it out on the grass, and see if we have succeeded in making this look as if it was made of actual stone. Alright, well, there it is, the finished result right here in my glorious backyard. Please don't look too closely at the grass. I'm not a lawn guy, let's just be honest. But I hope you'll agree that looks a little more like a real tombstone than when I bought it for $5. And I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween. Let me know if you decide to do a challenge like this. Tweet me a photo or let me know on Instagram or Facebook. I'll have the links in the description as always. But for now, let's go ahead and wind this one down. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back with another one real soon.